Recently, there was a church flyer that was posted on X that has drawn a lot of controversy and polarizing opinions from both those who love the ad as well as those who hate it. This pastor right here said, "Holy smokes, this is an ad for abusive husbands to join your church." While those who love it said, "Say less, I'm in, wish more churches had this, me too, I'd love to attend this church, and why can't there be any churches like this within a 100-mile radius of me?" In this video, I'll give you the origin and backstory of this ad. I'll highlight the major critiques, as well as give you some of the good and the bad of this kind of church marketing. Okay, so this is what it says. Smiling wives, obedient children, loud singing, strong handshakes, young marriages, good manners, biblical preaching, and reverent worship. And then it has the logo of the church underneath. Now, this ad comes from Kingsway Reformed Church. It's in Prescott, Arizona, and it's led by Pastor Dale Partridge. Dale is a well-known author. He's published many books. Some of the bigger ones are People Over Profit and Launch Your Dream, which were both published by HarperCollins Leadership. He's also posted some other ones from Thomas Nelson and others as well. Now, to understand the backstory, you need to know that Dale Partridge had been off of ministry for a year and just returned on August the 12th. That's when he, started reposting on X. So this is what he says on this blog post that kind of goes in depth on, that year, why he was off, what he learned during the time. But this opening sentence here, "It had just been over a year since I stepped back from much of my public ministry to address a personal struggle with exaggeration and embellishment." So that's the reason that he was off for that year. Now, on the same day of his return on August 12th, this lady Audrey posted some of her concerns with Dale returning back to ministry. And then underneath that, this lady here, Hannah Oliver, she said a card that they are passing around in town. So it looks like she's the one who took the photo, and other people have been kind of resharing this particular photo from everyday Christians to thought leaders, and that's kind of what made this take off. Now, the very next day on August the 13th, Dale made a post and claimed ownership of the ad, and this is what he said. "This is a flyer for our church, and we're proud of it. I guess Ben," he's the one that I read in the beginning, said, "Holy smokes, this is an ad for abusive husbands to join your church." Said, "I guess Ben would rather you have scowling wives, disobedient children, half-hearted worship, limp wrists, promiscuity, rudeness, unbiblical preaching, and irreverent worship." And then he also went ahead and posted the other side of the flyer that Hannah had not posted, and this is what it looks like right here. So this one has, both the worship address, QR code, but then it has a list of their commitments, and this is kind of what most people kind of expect from a church. So let's quickly read over them. It says, Christ exalting, gospel focused, verse by verse preaching, conservative theology, reformed doctrine, classic and modern hymns, biblical families, real discipleship, committed fellowship, and then anti-woke. Now, I just want to go over some of the main issues that people had with this ad. Some people, like, for example, right here at this channel, Rise of Men, they said, tell me exactly what's wrong or bad with everything listed here. And so some people weighed in. One of the major critiques was that the ad has a focus on, like, for example, smiling wives without mentioning, men and their roles as well. So, for example, Carla said they are missing the husband-father role of loving sacrificially and giving himself up for his wife and family. I think it's odd they added smiling wives and obedient kids without the loving sacrificial husband. Seems very odd. Now, the other side to that would be Jesse Bridges, who said, so many people are saying that men aren't listed, but the way I see it, the men are implied in every item listed. Smiling wife? Well, the husband sees to it she's happy. Obedient kids? The father disciplines. Loud singing? Men singing. Strong handshakes? Men. Young marriage? Men initiating, etc. So some people are saying, why the focus on wives, and other people are thinking, men's leadership and role is implied in the list. And then there was issues regarding to the focus of the list. It lists 8 different things, and 3 of them are focused on worship, and 5 of them are focused on the family. And so this person here says, I'm not offended by it, but some of the items just sound odd. When's the last time someone touted young marriages as a selling point for their church? Another person said, nothing is explicitly wrong, but it seems like the focus is on the wrong things. Strong handshakes and anti-woke is fine, but the purpose of church is orthodox teaching and the correct righteous worship of God. And so that led one person to kind of sum it up and to say about the second page there, that lists the core commitments. That is great, it really is. The problem is too many people might see the other side, the side that's gone viral first, and completely miss the good side. This side should have been the only side. Dale gave his response to this objection himself. He says, in our confused and disordered world, you need both sides of it, one that kind of addresses the culture directly and one that has the core commitments. And then you had critiques about the smiling wives part specifically. So this person right here said, so as a parent, if we're having a particularly rough Sunday, my kids are struggling with obedience, which is making my wife and I have a hard time smiling, will we still be welcome? Another person said right here, wives shouldn't always be smiling. Women are not decorative objects. They are people. I know it's hard, but keep up with a range of emotions appropriate to different situations. Grief, lamentation, anger, and expectation to keep smiling crushes honesty and shrinks the soul. And then you had this person who also kind of referenced the keep sweet phrase. Says, joyful wives might have been better communicated that the church works to cultivate joy in its members versus smiling wives, which is superficial, not a requirement of having joy, and has a keep sweet air to it. Another person brought that up. If you understood terms like keep sweet, we would see why some people find it as a possible red flag. So that's in reference to, what was made popular by the Netflix documentary Keep Sweet, Pray and Obey, as it was a common phrase used by Warren Jeffs in the fundamentalist Mormon church. Now, if you don't understand the term keep sweet, it kind of has like more of a connotation, put a smile on your face, be joyful, be obedient, just follow the church leaders. But it's in the context of, religious and family abuse. So it's telling the women, keep smiling, just be quiet, even though you're going through abuse. And that's why it has those negative connotations. And so that kind of imagery is what led somebody like Ben Marsh to say, it looks like an ad for abusive husbands to join your church. And so some of the responses are kind of like saying, the people hating on this want bitter wives and rebellious children, just kind of pointing out, that these are good and desirable things. Summer Yager, who is a popular Christian women's podcaster, she says, when women who claim Christ recoil at the mention of smiling or being cheerful or being obedient, there is no need to argue with them. They've already lost. And so that's kind of another perspective on that. Now, I want to give my own take on this ad. I do love the back. I think that the church commitments that they list there are really good, but I'm not a huge fan of the front. Now, I want to be clear that the actual list is good. Everything on this list is desirable. So it's not like I want the opposite of them. It's more just like, these are 8 things that they've chosen to highlight for their church. And when only, 5 of the 8 are not related to worship, and the ones specifically, 2 of the most important ones, regarding worship at the bottom of the list, it kind of looks odd. And so in light of this list, I do think that the charge of misplaced priorities is fair. On top of that, a couple of the items are just really superficial and not ideal because they're easily faked. I mean, for example, smiling wives, it's easy to fake a smile. So something like, I'm not saying that this is the best one, but even joyful wives is an upgrade because then it's at least dealing with, the heart disposition rather than something that's easily faked. And the same goes with strong handshakes, dealing with the men. You can have a strong handshake and be a weak man. And I know from personal experience that some of the strongest gym bros are some of the weakest men of character. And so, a handshake is easy to fake. So I think like an upgrade would be something like strong men. Like, once again, I'm not saying that that's the best thing to highlight. I'm just saying it's an upgrade on handshakes, because when you at least highlight strong men, it's not just can be just interpreted as the physical, but strong leadership, strong character, and so I think that's at least better. But viewing the ad charitably, I don't actually believe that they have misplaced priorities. And the reason why is because they really know how to highlight them on the back of the ad. So what I actually think is going on is I think that this is really just kind of clickbait for marketing purposes. You know, it's meant to draw a reaction and draw interest. And if that was the goal of it, then I guess it was successful based on the response.